Oh, I didn't even have the starting screen up. All right, we'll just jump into it today. How's everybody doing? Uh, so having the camera at such an extreme angle is challenging sometimes. It's, I mean, I prefer it this way, but yeah, it is challenging sometimes. Um, all right, almost got everything finished. I just need to pop out the chat here from Twitch because I simulcast for now. All right, there we go. Hopefully Dresden lets me paint today. We'll see. He's very energetic today. And he just wants me to play with him, which I love doing, but you know, I also have to do other things. All right, now I can't see my OBS. Great start. All right. There we go. All right, OBS is up. There, everything's up. All right. I had to move the camera over so that it wouldn't be over the painting. We'll see how that. I need to adjust it a little. Whatever, it works for now. Hey, Henry Spy, welcome. How you doing? Man, I swear this IRL streaming stuff is so much extra work compared to like the digital, just digital art. I'm sure if I did just digital art, I would feel the opposite. So, grass is always greener type of thing. How you doing? What have you been up to? Doing what? Doing well? Anything? Envying your ability to add atmosphere to your painting and such. Oh, well, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Atmosphere is very much the goal of a lot of my paintings. Having said that, I can, if you want to talk about it, I'm happy to like talk about the things I think add atmosphere to a painting. If that's something you know, you want to talk about. If not, like I'm not, looking. I don't know. I mean, it is my stream, but I'm not looking to lecture people. I guess. But yeah, I can talk about that a bit because I will say this isn't like my natural inclination when it comes to painting. I've had to work really hard to push my style over to something like this because I come my background's in comics originally, and I had the misfortune of not knowing what I was doing. So when I got into comics, I would I would try and draw like the finished comic book, not realizing that, you know, not realizing how like loose uh pencilers used to be and how tight, how much the inkers add to it and so on. And I'm just naturally kind of like into details and stuff like that. So I I tend to like be a tight, stiff artist, honestly. And I also think I'm not that I think my figures when working from imagination tend to be on the stiffer side as well. Or at least they used to be. I've gotten a lot better at that over the years. Um, but yeah, um, so I've worked very hard to kind of shift my painting style over time. And work. I need to respond to work. Technically, I'm off of work now, but I still respond. My job is, anyways, they're really good, so I don't mind doing stuff like that. Anyways, yeah. Um, I mean, I think it's worth talking about in general, even if Henry Spy isn't interested or he left, because I'm not sure. Gotta love the chat delays of everything. You never know. But yeah, painting, quote unquote painterly or atmospheric is definitely like obviously it comes natural to some people. Some people just like live in that. But I don't. That didn't come naturally to me. I had to push myself in that direction, and honestly, I still have to keep kind of reminding myself that that's what I want. Otherwise, um I tend to go back to old habits and like lose the plot, so to speak. So, yeah. Uh, and it's a mix, right? It's not just one thing. There's a lot of things that kind of go into this. Um, there's it's not a one thing fixed all kind of. I don't know what that even means, but you can't even see my palette now, can you? All right, I'm going to clean up my palette for a minute. Um, but yeah. So there's a few aspects to this. There is there's the side of it where it's like what makes for a atmospheric or moody painting in general, and then how do you on your own accomplish that, right? And like, I mean, obviously, if you know how to make it, that's the obvious step, but sometimes it's an issue of like, you know, thought processes more than, you know, what you're actually doing with the paint, or the thought processes affect what you do with the paint. I hope that makes sense. Might not. Um, but yeah, so hold on a second. Let me. So yeah, things that make for an atmospheric painting. Um, it's tough because anything I say, you'll be able to probably find an example that breaks that. Art being what it is. So these are just general. They're not, if you have a favorite artist who breaks all of these, you know, I don't even want to call them rules, but ideas, great. Actually, I'd love to see it because I'd love to learn of different artists that do it in different ways. Overall, um, I think some of the things that help a painting be moody and atmospheric are, well, I think of it as like atmosphere, like real atmosphere. So, you know, um, like fog, right? Things are moody and atmospheric when there's fog. So having compressed values doesn't matter. It can be into the dark, it can be into the grays, it can be in midtones, it can be into the light. Doesn't matter. Just compressed values, compressed uh, chroma or saturation, whatever you want to call it. And people from different places call it different things. Um, and soft and lost edges are all things that like contribute to a painting being, atmospheric. Like if you paint something that has compressed values, has compressed chroma, has a ton of lost edges, or is almost all soft and lost edges, like it's going to be atmospheric and it's going to be moody. It might look like mud because that's a different aspect, a challenging aspect of painting those types of things, but it'll be moody mud, you know? So, um, so hopefully that makes sense. So that's the start, right? That's like jumping off point. But then how do you take that information and turn it into a painting? Obviously, it's a little more complicated um, because you gotta love art. It's not very simple. Um, so all of those things I said, like I can think of ways of breaking some of those. Like, for instance, you can do a painting with zero, uh, zero blending, zero soft edges, zero loft edges, just nothing but hard edges. In fact, you could do it in the computer and make it, 100% hard edges, everything from start to finish. Um, but you can still achieve the feeling of a lost edge if all your values are, your value steps are so small that you can't really perceive it unless you get very close to it. So that's part of it. So there's ways of doing that. And then of course, um, you know, or not of course, I should say, personally, I want my paintings to be kind of brushy, and I want to have like those brush marks in them. And that tends to go counter to lost and soft edges. And that's why it's a mix. You don't want to have, well, I take that back. Maybe you do. I don't want to have all soft edges. I like to do a lot of soft and lost edges, and then I like to come in and do hard edges to give me, points of interest and so on. Um, and you know, there's other aspects to this as well. In the sense of like, so I just covered kind of like the basics of how to achieve that as far as like technically, but how you get there is, there's endless variety of ways to achieve that. You know, one of the things I do is I use the brayer roller to help me. For me personally, it works. It works pretty well, but you know, that's not going to work for everybody. Obviously, it just happens to be something that I've tried and works for me. Um, but one of the things I can mention that I think is maybe the most important, and I think this is one of the most important painting advices or you know tips I can give, right? So, it's not a simple one because you need to it requires some work. So you need to put in work. You need to get good at drawing. You need to get good at painting. Ironically, but when you're proficient enough that you can control your medium, you can control your pencil, you can control the outcome to a degree. You know, it's not all 100%, you know, a like fluke, or it doesn't feel like a fluke, you know. At that point, um, proceeding with no fear of messing up your painting or drawing, I think is really good advice. Just, you know, that's not to say like mess everything up on purpose, but don't be afraid of messing it up. Don't be afraid of having to redraw something because you messed it up and yeah, you know, you have to correct it or whatever. Just that concept alone is super helpful. And it also applies to painting what's it called? Damn, my thing is a little also applies to paint. What is going on with this? Is it this way? Oh, okay, it's that way. All right, it also applies to having no fear applies to doing atmospheric paintings too, because the thing that's hard is keeping the structure in these paintings. They tend, at least for me, they tend to like, because of the vagueness, they tend to kind of shift around as you're painting them. So their edges kind of move out of place and everything just kind of ends up slightly messed up. And I constantly have to go back in and correct things. And having the confidence in myself that I'll be able to, you know, to go back and make those changes, like it wasn't a one-off, you know, luck. And look, it's not always as good. Sometimes you do something and it's not as good as it was, but sometimes it's a lot better. So, you know, you just have to kind of go with it. Um, but and that also applies with like messing up the characters to give that atmospheric mood, all of that stuff. That's what I'm trying to, you know, convey. Don't know if I'm doing a good job, but that's what I am trying to convey. I know personally, I used to be afraid of messing up things, and sometimes I would keep something that's wrong just because I was afraid of messing up part of it that was right. Even if, like, let's say, the example I give the most, or that comes up the most, is like, let's say an eye on a character or a, you know, portrait I was painting came out really, you know, perfect, and I'm like, okay, this eye is great. I don't want to mess it up. Like, yeah, sure, that eye might be perfect, but the whole head isn't. And so even though this eye is perfect, it is in context of the whole painting, it is not perfect. And it's hard to like let that go because or I had a hard time letting it go because I I didn't trust myself to be able to um, redraw it or repaint it. But if you could do it once, you can do it again. Like that's just bottom line. If you did it once, you can do it again. Don't worry about it. Just do what needs to be fixed. You'll even if the eye comes out poorly next time, if it's in the right place, it'll be better for it. And over time, you'll just get better, and these type of things won't even be an issue. And I guess some other things about painting more painterly or um, atmospheric that I can, mention is, and actually this applies to any painting style you want to adopt or incorporate into your own style, or want to learn from, or just practice to give it a shot, whatever it is. um, find the painters that do what you want to do, and then do master studies of them, and analyze what it is they're doing and what it is that makes their paintings look like what it is you want your paintings to look like. I know that seems obvious, but yeah. And then another thing to do is do studies, not master studies, but do studies to accomplish the elements of the painting that you are maybe not as good at, or that you struggle with, or that you're new to, or whatever it is. And I can give you an example, actually, a visual example, if I can find it. I have a painting. It's not a painting. It's a yes, here. Okay. I wanted to practice and try putting down thick impasto marks. And I wanted to try, putting down those marks and blending them with hard edges without actually blending them, and doing transitions and so on. So I did this. Yeah, the camera's a little overexposed. This right here is a study of it's like a corner of a painting. I don't remember who the artist is. They're an abstract artist, but I love the paint marks. So I did a study of just like a corner of their painting. And then here, I was trying to do what I was just talking about, which is, I was trying to do a transition from light to dark, or whatever, without putting down, without actually blending. Here I tried it with a brush to see what the texture difference was. And here I tried to, go from light to dark corner. And this one was just to try and do the same thing with color. This was a fun experiment. I enjoyed doing this, but I also learned a lot from it. So stuff like that is also very, very beneficial to do. But yeah. And then I can also say that um, it's when you do something, um, getting immediate feedback on it is very beneficial. So if you do a whole large painting and you're trying to paint like a particular artist, it can be very difficult to learn from that, because by the time you finish it and you can evaluate it, it's no longer like immediate or direct feedback. So doing small studies, doing quick little studies, doing exercises that are all like, you know, small, quick, um, and all the feedback is immediate, is really good. That's how I would approach it. There's um there's a book by a writer. I can never remember his name. It's the book is called like Peak Performance or something like that. Can't remember the name exactly. It's a very good book by a guy who actually researched like peak performers in different fields and so on. So a really good book. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, and I think the researcher is the one who read it because I listened to it. Very boring. Very, very dry, very boring to listen to. Um, in fact, well, anyway, that doesn't matter. But very, very good book, regardless. And in that book, he goes over some of these things that I'm taking from his book. Um, you know, I'm taking ideas from his book. I didn't come up with these. Um, and geez, what was it? Trying to think and paint at the same time. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes is challenging. All right. So he he gave the example of a football player, which I've never practiced football. And by football, I'm referring to American football, not soccer or, you know, just for clarification. Um, but he talks about how people, you know, train for football. And they don't do a ton of games from start to finish. Like, that's not how, that's not how they train for it. They do, their practice is on very specific, small, that's also important, small individual things. They practice, you know, I don't know football very well, but like they practice the snap, they practice the throws, they practice tackles, they all these things they practice individually. They don't practice all of them together. They only do that for, I'm not going to say only for games because I'm sure they do it not just for games. But my point being that, you know, he, my point, his point he was making is that they don't do it every practice. You know, they don't they don't spend every practice playing games. So, uh, even if I'm wrong about that, the concept still holds true. Yeah, so that's how I worked at it and got, changed my style quite a bit, honestly. And it's I should also mention, I took Chelsea. Well, I took Jennifer Balkin's class. Uh, like it was like an 8-week class, which was great. She's fantastic. If you can, I highly recommend Atelier Dojo in Austin. I think they have some online stuff too, so highly recommend it. Uh, I followed Jennifer Balkin for years before I even moved to Austin. I didn't even realize she was in Austin until someone at work was like, "Oh, you can take a class here." And yeah. And then the other thing I did was I signed up for Chelsea Lang's boot camp. Chelsea Lang is a really great painter, and she's on YouTube. She has a bunch of videos on painting related stuff. Um, and she started a boot camp, and it was really great. I don't. I think it's worth mentioning that I don't think that the boot camp is for like beginner people. Although I am not the person to make that judgment. She is. Just you know um, that that's my thinking on it. But like I said, she check her YouTube out, and you can actually uh, contact her to have like to like if you're interested in her boot camp. Um, it's pretty cool. I think I got a lot out of it, and I know a few other artists who have gotten a lot out of it too. Because it's kind of a community thing. Like all the people who take our boot camp, um, you know, get access to a private group, and so on. So I've got to meet a bunch of really cool artists and see them progress and grow over time. Also, if I'm mentioning artists and so on, um, I really love Nicholas Uribe. He has a channel on YouTube called Our Painted Lives. Uh, he has a ton of videos where you can watch him painting. Some of his older videos are speed paints. Some of his well, I think the last 2 years worth of paintings are live streams, so you can watch it, at this whatever speed you want, uh, and study how he goes about doing things. Actually, this is worth mentioning. He likes to work on really dry surfaces. I don't. Uh, but those really dry surfaces actually provide a bit of a benefit for kind of moody atmospheric paintings. And the reason that they offer a bit of a benefit in that area is because if you're working on a very dry, absorbent surface, um, then a few things happen when you do that. Um, it tends to um, it kind of tends to like ruin the sharp edges, and it kind of muddies everything up naturally a little more. It's not like a 100% kind of thing, um, but just a little. It does that, and it's a little harder to get the paint down sometimes. So in order to do that, you kind of have to like forcefully kind of push it around, and that that leans towards like soft edges and so on. In fact, I can give an example here in the opposite direction. So I have a painting here on a surface that is not absorbent at all, like in the slightest. And because it has no absorption at all, it's actually a very like brushy, you know, a very just a very brushy painting. and it tends to lean towards, you know, um, towards that. So here we go. So this was painted on Yupo paper, which is a plastic paper. It's not paper at all. It's plastic. So there's no absorption, and you can see, hopefully you can see, just how like brushy everything tends to be. And in fact, I can show it on this painting too. If you can see it, all the brush marks that are visible on this painting, the reason they're visible is because this is a very slick surface underneath, has low texture, and so it a lot more of the brush marks come in. Hey, Don Lee. Has a nice Zonda-like quality to it. Yes, that painting definitely has a Zonda quality to it. Good to see you, Don Lee. Welcome. How was your stream? I apologize if you rated me. I cannot see that. I can't see those things on my setup for some not for some reason, because of the layout. I can't see that, but yeah. Welcome. Don Lee is a streamer on Twitch. He does digital art. It's a lot of fun. Check him out. Don Leo on Twitch. Don Lee, one word, _ O with 3 H's. Yeah, check him out. Yeah, absolutely, Don Lee. Yeah, I was just talking about, I was talking about a lot of different things, but I was talking about how the surface, changes how the painting looks. If you paint on a surface that's very absorbent, it tends to muddy up your colors and your contrast and the edges, and it's actually really good for atmospheric paintings, which is ironic because I like to do that kind of paintings, but I hate the way it feels, so I don't like to paint on surfaces like that. I would rather paint on smoother surfaces, even though in a way it makes my life harder. Yeah. How was your stream, Don Lee? You were making you were working on merch for your online shop, I assume, for the holidays. While I wait for the delay to Creative Fit. Welcome. No, Creative Fit. This is not the same paper from last stream. I started. Okay, last stream being yesterday. This is a board. I started fresh yesterday. If you want to see what the paper looks like, yeah. Here's the paper. I actually tried to work on this on my own on Saturday before my stream, and I started painting on it, and I was like, you know what? I'm miserable. I hate working on this. This is so unpleasant. That I just gave up, and I just started from scratch on a board, and that worked a lot better. You can go see the VOD, or I guess the VOD from yesterday. In one day, 3-hour stream, I got this far, practically. So total different experience. So Don Lee was saying it was a good stream. Think you got a solid idea. And it's for his shop. That's great. The paper is the poo. Yeah, no, that paper really does not agree with me. Um, that's all I got. I really hate working on it. Ironically, I think it has a lot of really good attributes to it that I would benefit from if I didn't hate working on it so much. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure how to. I can think of how to prep the surface to overcome the issues with it. I don't know how to overcome the issues I have with the paper in the painting process itself as I'm painting. Like I can prep it with acrylic matte medium, and that'll totally fix it, right? Because I'll just be painting on acrylic matte medium, which I like, so no problem at all. Yeah, but I'm sure the mental time translated. Um, yes, yeah, it took so much extra time to do so little with that paper versus something that felt better. Yeah. If I understood you correctly. I may have misunderstood you, in which case I'm sorry. By the way, how are you doing, Creative Fit? I don't think I asked, but how have you been? Um, but yeah, the paper, like Nicholas, I was just talking about him. Nicholas Uribe likes painting on paper, and he likes absorbent like absorbent paper. So I think he would love this stuff. I just can't stand it. Better from illness. That's great. I'm glad you're feeling better. Donley asks, are there other painting papers that feel better? I'll be honest, there aren't, to me, yeah, there aren't a lot of paper that are good for oil painting. Yupo paper is a plastic, but it's not, it has problems. It is not, it has some issues. So I don't know that I would recommend Yupo paper. It's got some weird behaviors. I prefer it to the Arches oil painting paper, that's for sure. But it's a low bar. That's a very low bar. Honestly, I think the best thing to do, personally, for me, is to treat the paper beforehand. I like painting on acrylic matte medium. I bought I use Golden acrylic matte medium. They have their fluid and their regular one. Either one is good. I can put that on like watercolor paper, for instance, and it's great. The watercolor paper is, has some texture to it, but not too much texture to it. The acrylic matte medium, because it's a matte medium, has some texture to it, but not too much. And and it's not very absorbent. Yeah, I like it. Creative Fit says, or I was just saying earlier, it has been my experience. If I spend time with a subject already, I go faster the next time. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. But that wasn't the issue. Not in this case. Not in this case. I mean, it is true that probably contributed a bit to the speed, but nah. The big difference was the surface. You could see it right away. Like it was if you go back and watch the VOD, it's instantaneous almost. Like as soon as I get the drawing done and I start laying in the paint, totally different. It just goes on, no problem, no issues. And then when I go with the brayer over it, it messes it up, but it doesn't mess it up as bad as the paper did. Yeah, yeah, it was just, yeah. Like I said, I don't know. Maybe I should do a bunch of little studies with the paper, see if I can figure out a way of liking it. Because like I said, it actually has a lot of good qualities to it. So, like I was saying earlier, that surfaces that are absorbent and that feel dry, they tend to push you into um, softer painting or softer brush marks, and it tends to condense your colors and your values. All of these things are great for atmospheric paintings, so I actually could benefit from it if I could love it. Yeah. Henry Spy says, I'm always seeking newer surfaces. I hope to paint in prepared anodized, I think, aluminum and copper panels, like copper panels that Arthur Gain uses from time to time. So cool stuff. Okay, I can actually talk about that a little bit. I've never used copper. I can't, but I know Arthur Gain's on Twitch. He's great. And yeah, his paintings on copper are really, really, really cool. Having said that, I don't know much about painting on copper. I know that copper is a really good surface for painting, for oil painting. It's very expensive, unfortunately. That is a negative to it. I don't know how you treat it. I know that I'm pretty sure you have to scuff up the surface a little bit. Not like gouges, but sand it so it's a little textured and rough so that the paint has something to like grab onto. And then I don't know the rest on painting on copper. Like I said, it's also expensive, so I haven't really looked into it that much. Painting on aluminum, however, I can sort of talk about a little. There are these things called aluminum composite. Can't remember the name of it. It's like they're ACM panels. It's aluminum, and then on both sides, and then sandwiched in the middle is like a plastic. I've used those before. However, I haven't painted on the aluminum directly. I painted on. They usually have some kind of like coating. Actually, I take that back. They don't usually. You can get it with a coating of some sort, or you can get it plain. I haven't painted on it plain. I have painted on the coating. You can't paint directly on the coating though. You have to prepare it for painting. It's not, it's not a surface you want to paint directly on. I can talk about preparing it if you want. I'm happy to. There's a ton of ways you can prepare it. It just kind of depends on what you want to do. As far as painting directly on the aluminum, I could be wrong. So, double check. Creative Fit says, would love to paint on a plane. Squirrel? I'm not sure I understood that. You want to paint on like the outside of a plane? Is that what you're talking about? I'm gonna have to wait for some explanation on that. In the meantime, painting on on aluminum, if it's the aluminum surface directly, I'm fairly not maybe I shouldn't say fairly confident. I think you can paint directly on aluminum. Once again, I think you have to scuff up the surface, just sand it a bit. I'm not 100% sure on that. I would double check it to make sure that aluminum is a safe surface to paint on, but I think it is. If it's not, then you can prepare it very much the same way that you would prepare ACM panels with that have the coating on them. And so what you do is you sand them a bit to once again scuff up the edge, the surface, because oil bonds mechanically, not chemically. That's why you need to have like all those little edges, something for it to grab onto. And then after you scuff it up, you need to you have I think like a few options here. You can either prime the surface, and you can prime it with acrylic gesso if you want. You can prime it with oil primer of any kind, I'm pretty sure, including lead primer if you want to go that route. I don't suggest it, but if you do, it's supposedly great. Or you can glue, you can just glue canvases to it. Each of those things I just mentioned has, advantages and disadvantages, which I'm happy to talk about if anyone's interested. But yeah. Something I like to mention. Hold on. All right, Henry Spy says, I guess gluing canvas on top defeats a bit of the purpose. It does, but it has its advantages. I'll get into that. Never even considered painting on metal. Okay, Creative Fit says never considered painting on metal. Yeah, it's a good surface. Apparently, back in the day, old masters painted on what's it called? Copper. And it's apparently a really great surface to paint on. Having said that, Henry, you are right that that gluing a canvas to the panel sort of defeats the purpose, but it has its advantages, and the aluminum composite panels, they don't change, they don't warp much from like temperature or humidity or anything like that. So they're a very stable, surface. So it's a good surface to glue to. And if you glue a canvas to a panel, theoretically in the future, if anything were to happen to your painting, you have a lot more options to fix it than you would if it was painted directly on the panel. But you're right, it does defeat the purpose a little. Don Lee says, always wondered about lead paint. What good does lead do? Okay, so lead, my understanding is there's a few things, and it kind of depends on the part of the painting that you're using lead. Because if you use it for a primer, it has a different function than if you use it in the painting process. For the primer, I'm assuming it makes a good final surface to paint on. But there's a huge asterisk to that, which is when you prime certain things for painting, like if you use, for instance, acrylic gesso or even oil primer that doesn't have lead in it, after you do one coat, you sand it, and then you do another coat and you sand it again. And you use fine grit sandpaper, and so you can get really smooth really smooth surfaces. You can't do that with oil primer, because if you sand oil paint, you then release lead dust around you, and that's really bad for your health. Hey Bob, welcome. Good to see you. How you doing? Um, as far as in the painting process itself, lead has a bit of a different texture to it. So supposedly it gives kind of like they always say like a ropey or stringy feel to the paint. I haven't experienced it. Doesn't seem to be all that great, but I may have gotten a bad batch of lead oil paint. So maybe I'll feel different if I try it. The other thing is lead white is, the other difference is it's a bit of a warmer white compared to titanium white, which, when you're doing portraits is kind of helpful. The other thing is it's a very weak tinting white. So when you mix colors into it, it doesn't overpower them. It just as much. That has disadvantages too, because you need to mix a lot more of it in if you want to, that effect. But yeah, you don't get as chalky mixes from it generally as you do with like, titanium white. Although that's kind of a BS thing, because really you can just mix less white into it and still get the same result. So that to me just seems kind of BS. The other thing is, I think it's actually a very good bonding. I think it creates very strong bonds though for the paint. So that's a very good positive. I don't know. Like I said, I have a tube of lead white. My experience with it was not great. I talked to some artist friends. They made it sound like I may have gotten a bad tube, which could be the case. But yeah, so far I am not overly impressed with it. I'll put it that way. And when you combine that with the health risks, it really doesn't seem worth it, in my opinion. Bob says I'm doing good. Just picked up some food. Oh, good. Enjoy. I hope it's good. Donley says, thanks. Always curious. Yeah, absolutely. You could try using ranch as white. It's pretty cheap. Thanks, Bob. I appreciate the advice. It's true. It is cheap. I think acrylic artists might benefit from it more than I would. But yeah, there's actually who is it? Mgram. Mgram makes a white oil paint with what is it? sunflower oil. That's it, sunflower oil. And that it's a titanium white, but it's because it's made with sunflower oil, it has a little bit of a warm tint to it versus the like regular cold titanium white. So and it's a very, very creamy paint. Mgram makes very not overly soft. I suppose it depends on your opinion, but I don't think they're overly soft, but very creamy, creamy oil paints. Actually, I think I can say definitively not overly soft because they're not self-leveling. I think a paint is theoretically too soft for, you know, overly soft if it's self-leveling. You may want that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's like a degree of softness that almost no paint has. CreativeFit says I should get to painting. Got my backdrops to do. Awesome. Yeah, you should. Go paint. Forget about me. Go paint. Donley says, I think I heard something about sunflower oil yellowing over time though. Is that correct? I don't know. I don't know if it yellows more than all the other oils. I'll be honest. Most of the other oils yellow. In fact, I think all of them do. I don't know that there's a perfect perfect one out there. That's why, even though I don't do it, I do recommend using UV varnish. I can explain why I don't do it, but it is good to do. There's no doubt about it. CreativeFit says I would work along, but will be streaming. Oh, you're going to be streaming as well? Do you stream CreativeFit? I don't think I knew that. Yeah, linseed oil definitely yellows. I think walnut oil is supposed to yellow less, but it also yellows. Um, and yeah, I don't think there's a perfect one out there. For the record, I don't think it's pure sunflower oil. I think it's a combination of linseed oil and sunflower oil. Uh, um, CreativeFit says, I did stream until my wife got, and then it's supposed to be thick, but accidentally wrote dick, and so the auto mod caught it. To be fair, kind of a decent job on the auto mod. Not that I mind that language, but you never know. Some people are going to abuse it, you know. So kind of good on the auto mod there. I'm just waiting for when YouTube's you know, AI bot starts just like muting and modding Don Lee everywhere. Like, you know, he'll literally be on like a different website. He'll be on Twitch and suddenly he can't type anything, and then he'll go, you know, to he'll go to his email and he won't be able to log in. That'll be real sad, but funny too. Henry Spy said, Richard has to go by full name here. Yeah, yeah, Richard does. Creative Fit says, well, I would love one more daughter. Okay. Got it. The wife got it. Took me a second. Took me a second. I'm a bit slow sometimes, especially when streaming. Henry Spy says, well, I'll go now. Have a nice evening. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Absolutely, Henry Spy. Happy to. And have a great night. It's good to see you. In case you don't know, I stream Monday night, Wednesday night, and Sunday day. So, you know, hope to see you around. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Yeah, theoretically, you know, Don Lee, going back to what you'd mentioned about the oils, like theoretically, you know, acrylic might be, and I say this might be a better, you know, medium than oils as far as longevity is concerned. But acrylics also have issues with longevity, so there, we have yet to find like the perfect paint, you know. Some of the paints that are like absolutely that have, you know, super longevity, super good at, you know, like will last forever. They're just awful to paint with. So it's one of those. We have yet to find the perfect medium. But I was saying as far as using UV varnish. Okay, so here's the thing about UV varnish. Use it. UV varnish is better than I use Gamvar. Gamvar is the varnish I use. It is not UV protective. A UV varnish will protect your paintings better and stop them from yellowing as much, and just it's better to do. The disadvantage of UV varnish is you cannot put it on. You can't put it on like right after you finish a painting. Even once it's even once it's dry to the touch, you can't put it on. You have to wait. I think it is 6 months to a year until you can put on UV varnish. And there's not a lot of options either. At least from what my online search. So that's why I don't use UV varnish. I do actually, and it's expensive too. I do want to. I do plan on buying some at some point. But the 6 to 12 months, yeah, is a problem. Gamvar, on the other hand, I think is technically a retouch varnish. And Gamvar you can put on as soon as, obviously follow the instructions, but my understanding is Gamvar you can put on as soon as it is, you know, touch dry. Like as soon as the painting seems dry, like a week after painting it, like if everything seems dry, go ahead, you can put it on. Gamvar has solvent in it. It has, if I'm not mistaken, it has, what's it called? Gamsol in it. So if your painting has to be dry enough to handle a Gamsol wash, just to give you an idea of how dry it needs to be. If you can't put, you know, if you can't put it on, then if your painting's not dry enough to handle it, then it's not dry enough for Gamvar. Donley says, I have a UV varnish. It's a dock varnish. Yeah, I don't know if that's good stuff though. I'll be honest. It's probably good. I don't know. Something you could theoretically do is put on, put Gamvar on and then put a UV dock varnish on. But once again, I don't know because a lot of these things are actually very similar, but it might have some kind of solvent in it that's like way harsher, which could theoretically take your painting off the canvas. So I would say, to be on the safe side, do a test run first. Generally, I think that's a general like good habit with painting. If you don't know for sure, do a test run. He used it on acrylic painting some years ago. It actually seems to be doing well. That's good. So here's the thing about here's one of the things about varnishes on oil painting. I don't know how it applies to acrylic painting, so but the varnishes, most of the varnishes for oil paintings are designed to be removed. So they either use weak solvents or they use a different type of solvent that won't hurt the paint, because they're designed to be removed. The idea being that after years and years, you clean them, remove them, and all the yellowing and all the stuff that's with them goes away, and you put on new varnish. Bob says, they make clear UV protective wraps for cars. I wonder if it would work on a painting. I mean, theoretically, I don't know. But I will say this. So, most oil paintings, people don't put them behind glass. And they usually oil paintings are displayed just as is kind of thing. They don't usually put them behind glass. And obviously that's harsher on the painting, but it's so much better for the viewer, because like the difference between looking at a painting behind glass and a painting that is not, yeah, it's so much better. This could apply to a few other things, but when it comes to other things, safety first. But When it comes to oil paintings, you can get away with not wrapping it up, you know. If you use the proper protection on the painting, you can get away with it. But yeah, the varnishes are designed to be removed. So I don't know if the dock varnish is. So that's something I would want to check. Donnelly says, would be interesting to see how much it would alter the painting. Bob says, you can't tell when the cars have the wrap on them. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't know what these wraps look like, but I wouldn't put the wrap directly on the painting, which I'm sure would, what's it called? Defeat the purpose almost, because it would essentially be like glass, you know, and you can get UV. There is glass that protects from UV, so um, you could just put the painting behind, you know, glass. Um, I wouldn't put the wrap directly on the painting because there's so much fine texture to it. My assumption is the wrap could never, you know, fold into all those things, and I would be afraid of it damaging the painting. What do I think a wrap is? I'm assuming it's like something that is put directly, you know, directly onto the car, like you know, like the same way that they do what is it called? There's a term for it when they like they don't paint the car, but they use uh is it is it a wrap as well? It's some, you know, some kind of like cloth thing that they put on it directly. Um it's thinner than the varnish you use, and it's made to come off without hurting the paint. So it's not actually like a film of some sort. Because I'm thinking a like a film of some sort that gets put on the car and then, you know, basically like sticks to it and somehow. It's a film that comes off when you want it and it's super thin. Mm, I mean, I could look into it. Doubt, I doubt it. Just because like the the fine, um, you know, all the little really fine texture that paintings have can be, um, A, they're very fine, and B, they're very delicate. You could theoretically, you know, um, what's it called? Um, destroy all that depending on how it adheres itself. I'm not saying it's not possible. I would have to look into it. My assumption is no, but maybe. Because if you have like oh wait, Bob says I don't think it would work right on thicker paint style, but people that paint thin a lot, it would probably work well. Maybe, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, if you have any impasto, I assume it would not work. But some people do paint very, very thin. That's true. Maybe, maybe in those instances it would work. worth mentioning, most what's it called? Most varnishes have solvents or something in them that produces harsh fumes. So anyone who's, you know, going to varnish, just make sure you have ventilation. Like it wouldn't, Bob says, like it wouldn't work on a Van Gogh, but it might on an O'Keeffe. Okay, I could see that. I can see potential problems with it, but never say never. Like there might be something to it. I'm all for, um, you know, new, taking advantage of new, um, new products or new technologies that, could benefit things. Absolutely. They can also make the wraps in different finishes like gloss or matte. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard a ton, I've been looking into different surfaces. Like I know I saw uh someone online was saying that like ACM panels, they're very delicate, and there's some truth to that. They are pretty delicate. Um, and if you paint directly on them and they get dented or broken or anything, like there's nothing you can do to fix it at that point. Which is true. There's some truth to that. Depends what the problem, kind of depends what happens. Um, but so they were saying that they think a better surface would be, I think it was some kind of plastic, that supposedly, very, what's it called? Very resistant to everything, to the weather, to temperature, to everything. I'm like, oh, that sounds cool. And I started looking into it, and it wasn't definitive. Like, it wasn't 100% clear that, yeah, it's actually a good surface. Um, so, I ended up like abandoning it kind of. But I'm totally down for new stuff like that. Fiber oil paintings, so they go fast. Yes, Bob, carbon fiber oil paintings, so they go faster. That's a great idea. I think you're really onto something. Yeah, I don't know. My assumption is that, like, I'm not the only one who's interested in like different materials and so on. So they will figure it out eventually. Carbon fiber would probably be awful for it because it has texture. Yeah, no, carbon fiber would not be good. Trying to remember. I think carbon fiber, is a very strong material, but it's like only strong, if I'm not mistaken, it's only strong in certain directions, kind of thing. I could be wrong about that. But no, it would be a horrible surface to paint on, I think, because of the texture that it naturally has. you could theoretically put something over the carbon fiber to like smooth out the surface, but then, you know, it becomes the same thing as, like if you just as an example, because I use acrylic matte medium all the time, if I put acrylic matte medium on carbon fiber or on wood or on aluminum, it all feels the same when I paint on it because I'm painting on acrylic matte medium. The only issue is like how rigid is the surface, how how what's it called? How resistant is it to breaking or getting damaged and all that extra stuff, you know. Making a Don Lee says making a sandwich. All right. I'm jealous. Enjoy. When you get back, tell us what kind of sandwich you're making. Or I guess made in the past. But yeah. Maybe eating at the time? I don't know. But yeah. But something I mentioned earlier, and I don't know that I entirely conveyed this issue or conveyed this idea. So when you're painting on a surface, if you're painting, let's say you're painting on just it doesn't matter, a wood board that you gessoed yourself. If you make, and the reason I say that is because like you can gesso with a lot of texture, or you can gesso and really make it super smooth. It's a preference thing, right? If you're painting on a smooth surface like that, the tendency of the surface is to show your brush marks. So making very soft, smooth gradients, for instance, actually becomes more challenging, ironically, because you'd think a smooth surface, smooth gradients. No, it's harder. If you have a surface with texture, within reason, it can actually be easier to do all those like smooth gradients. So ironically, sometimes when painting, when doing portraits, if you want, especially, not especially, but usually it's something that's considered more is for women to have like very smooth, not paintings of their face and everything. You don't want to have a ton of like, ton of texture in their face, theoretically. There's nothing, nothing's 100%, but generally that's the like, the go-to kind of thing. So ironically, actually painting on a textured surface can make that a bit easier. Once again, within reason. If it's too textured, it's going to be impossible. But I'm talking textured like canvas or like gesso. Some people put pumice in their gesso on their final layer, and that's my understanding. It's just like a kind of graded rock, so it's like rock dust essentially. That's my understanding of what that is. I'm not sure. To give it texture and to give a digital version of this, if you this happens too digitally, although part of it is because of the limitations of bit rates or whatever. But if you have a gradient, and it's a lot of times in digital, you can see the banding on the gradient. So if you actually throw a diffused noise layer on top of that, it can smooth out that banding in the gradient. Bob says, yeah, pumice is used in skincare stuff too. It's volcanic rock. That's what it is. Yeah, volcanic rock. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. So yeah. So I a little counterintuitive, I think, but yeah. People use pumice to grind their foot barnacles off. That's funny. Hey, Michelle. Okay. I muted myself to talk to you. Michelle's here, so wanted to talk about dinner and so on. What time is it? It's already 10:07. Jeez. I did start a little later than I wanted to today. Just a little, not like a lot. Yeah.
Who's watching?
Um, uh, who's watching? Don Lee is here. Bob is here. Um, uh, huh? Yeah, they can hear me right now. Creative Fit is here. Michelle says hello, everyone. Oh, thank you. But yeah. Bob says hello. Everybody else is kind of AFK from their keyboard at the moment. They're there. They're just not
There.
at their keyboard. So they're like the Creative Fit is working on their own art right now. I think they're actually streaming as well. So yeah. But otherwise, I'm not.
Oh, shit. Sorry. Didn't do that. I apologize.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you did.
Are you sure you're gonna have monitor?
Yes, I will have room for my new monitor. Can you not sit like that on that chair? It's not built for that. No, that because when you cross your legs like that, you're putting a lot of weight on the edge of it, and the tip part moves back and forth, so it's not built for a lot of weight. Thank you.
Okay.
Don is busy goblin. Yes, he's making himself a sandwich. Okay.
Not like
My computer chair has this like the edge of the seat can kind of move back and forth, and so the part that like hangs off is just a very thin plastic, which is fine uh, under normal. But Michelle likes to sit cross-legged, which I never sit in my chair cross-legged. Um, so that's why. And no, it's not a Herman Miller chair. Your chair is an adjustable hall rest. No, it's so that short people and tall people can both use the chair. That's what it's for. The You're supposed to have like a certain, I think it's like 5 inches roughly between like where your knee bends to like where the edge of the chair is, something like that. People should just stop being short. I think people should just stop being tall, honestly. It'd be better for everybody. It's healthier. Like if everybody was, I don't know what the ideal height would be, but like maybe something like, I don't know, like 5'5" or something. I'm not sure. If everybody was 5'5", yeah, that'd probably be better for everybody. All right, now I need to get in here and start pulling these figures together a little bit. I'm not going to be doing like super detailed you know um paintings on these people because I don't want to, but I do need to pull it together just a little bit more than it is currently. It would put the cabinet makers out of business because they wouldn't be able to put as many shelves. No, it wouldn't at all. It would actually, it would make the cabinet, it would give the cabinet makers more business. Because what would happen is everything would have to be condensed to be smaller. All the countertops would have to be lower. All the cabinets, everything would have to be lower. But then you have all this extra room, right? Now, theoretically, you could then make the ceilings lower to be appropriately the same thing. But we all like tall ceilings, so why do that? Instead, you would have to make extended cabinets and you'd have to build some kind of system for everybody to get to those extended cabinets. It actually make a lot of like customized cabinets and a lot of like really fun designs. I think it would be way better. Have a library ladder in your kitchen. Yeah, exactly. There is something like that. They'd have to come up with like good solutions. The problem with a library ladder is that in the kitchen, it's definitely going to be in the way for cooking. And, you know, you have to use one hand, you know, to hold the ladder. So I think they need to come up with better systems. Like maybe some kind of like, you know, fold out, you know, uh, steps and rails or something. I don't know. I'm not a fucking cabinet maker. Have anchor points in the cabinets. You could put a step like people have to get to the roof of their car. Yeah, or maybe the drawers would be built much stronger, and they would have like a hidden you know uh a hidden cover. So normally when you use the shelves, the drawers, the you know you don't use the cover, but then when you need to climb up, you pull the cover out and you can actually step up your shelves to get there. I don't know. So I forget why they're called plumb lines, but plumb lines are so useful when trying to what's it called? Position things in a painting. Shell says, I wish I was Dresden. He is the best little life ever. Actually sleeping on the couch. A happy little shrimp. Yeah. Dresden's the best. Yeah, he's so cute when he's sleeping. He curls up just like a little shrimp. Probably because they were made by plumb bobs. No idea. I know. Yeah, no. I don't know what. Yeah. I'm missing something or not understanding. You're not getting the joke, probably. Yeah. A plumb bob is a tool to get a vertical line. Yes, that's I mean that's what plumb lines are, but I just okay, that's what it's called then. Yeah. That's what that is. I just didn't know what it was called or, but yes. If I'm not mistaken, it's a carpenter tool, right? a string with a weight at the end. Yes, that's what it is. Exactly. I just never remember what they're like. I guess what they're called, what historically they were. Yeah. But yes, absolutely, that is what they are. Although obviously in painting, I don't mean it with an actual string. It's just the concept of lining things up vertically. Also horizontally works too. But just doing those lines to help position everything is very, very useful. I imagine the mural fresco artists tended to use plumb bobs before lasers were invented. Yes, absolutely. Although, who knows if they actually bothered with actual plumb lines, with actual things, or if they just did it by, visually. Because you'll see painters do that all the time. They just hold up their brush and you know, do it that way. It is by no means a perfect method, but it's a lot easier than busting out the actual string. We might have done to grid out bigger stuff, especially if they had assistance. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, I do. If I'm not mistaken, part of it was a carpenter tool too. So you know, if I'm not mistaken, there are very few tools that are like solely artist tools. Like most are kind of adopted uh, into art. Yeah, and masonry. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes sense too. Unfortunately, even artist pigments, you know, artists are limited to the pigments that are like widely available as you know, in like industry. Not, okay, not 100% because there are some people who make like traditional old school pigments and stuff like that. But overall, yeah, like there's a few colors or paints um that don't exist anymore because they weren't cost effective, in industry, so no one makes them anymore. And I'm not talking about the really messed up ones like Mummy Brown. Yeah, see, I called it, Bob. I got there before you. Well, with the delay, you probably beat me to it, but yeah, Mummy Brown. I'm not counting Mummy Brown. Um, That one was that was such a stupid paint. I don't know who decided to make Mummy brown. Is so dumb. Like it is by all, by any like stretch of the imagination, obviously a very limited resource. All the Mummy stuff from back in the day was super weird. Yeah, I agree. But like why would you ever do that? No, I'm talking about like I think if I'm not mistaken it's manganese blue that is like uh is considered to be like a really nice blue, and yet they don't make it anymore. Like with real manganese, it's not manufactured at all anymore. Yeah, I'm not talking about like the weird colors, like the one that we used to give people cancer and stuff like that. Like I don't. I'm talking about like just legit, straight up paint that just it's ineffective or too expensive to make, so they don't, and they make alternatives, and sometimes those alternatives are superior in every way, um, except for artists specifically. But like for industry, yeah, they're superior, but for artists, they're not. There is, and there is actually a really interesting thing that green became an unpopular color in the early 20th century because they found out that Chile's green and uranium glass weren't good for you. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Chile's green. It's yeah, it was super popular. Uh, like they used to make dresses with that paint. Like that stuff was popular and also super toxic for you. Yeah. Once again, not I'm not talking about that stuff. But you know what's interesting too is there are and you can still buy them to this day. There are camera lenses, old camera lenses that give off radiation because the coating that was used to on the lens, I think it's an anti-glare coating. Um, is some kind of something that gives off radiation. So fun stuff. Um, yeah, and every wall in your house would have Chile's green wallpaper. Yeah, it was super popular. Literally people had their entire houses like covered in it and stuff like that. Yeah. The only like I can understand, them at the time not understanding what this was kind of thing. However, understanding is that at some point they figured it out and they delayed telling people about it. But I could be wrong. But that's what I remember. I could, like I said, could be wrong. My memory for this is not perfect. Um, I think they were trying to find an alternative, and they eventually did. They actually found a facsimile that, but by that point, it had such a bad reputation that no one wanted anything to do with it. there's so everyone, not maybe not, but I assume everyone's familiar with ultramarine blue, which is originally was made from lapilazuli or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. It's a gemstone of some kind that's like harvested from the ocean, if I'm not mistaken. Um, now it's not made from that. Now it's just made from some kind of synthetic something. Um, but there's a YouTuber I saw who Alpi Effie or Alpi Faye. I gotta look up how to say his name. And I mention him way too much to not know how to pronounce his name. Anyways, he actually did a video where he painted with it with original what's it called, ultramarine blue, and he said it was like horrendous. He couldn't even finish a painting with it. But I do wonder because I think I feel like they did actually finish paintings with it, so I wonder how they used to handle that. Um, Bob says, I think the thing with Chile's green was it had arsenic in it. Oh, that's right, not cancer, arsenic. You're right. And they thought it was inert, but heat and humidity would release it over time. You're right. That's Bob's right. My bad. Um, I'm showing my age by not knowing lapis lazuli. I mean, I know of it. I just have never used it. It hasn't been used in paint for a very long time. It's in Minecraft. Ah, well, yeah. I'm not good at Minecraft. I tried playing Minecraft. I'm not good at it. I played. To be fair, I only tried Pocket Minecraft, but I couldn't get into it. I tried. You can use it to dye sheep. That's funny. Minecraft has a ton of like fun things in it, but I don't know. I never really get into it. I am looking forward to, there's a few games I wanna play when I can, when I have the time. I'm really looking forward to Armor Core 6. Bob says, yeah, I want to play Armored Core. I also want to play Alan Wake 2, but I want to replay the first two first. I'm not familiar with Alan Wake at all. The only thing I know about Alan Wake is that the current game is ridiculously hard to run. Other than that, I don't know anything about the game. I don't know. There's a few other games I was thinking about trying. I don't know. There's the Spider-Man games, like the Spider-Man Remastered and Spider-Man Miles Morales. Are those any good? I've heard supposedly they're good. I don't know. Unfortunately, the game I want to play more than any other game, I can't play, and it's not up to me. Um, Alan Wake is like playing a Stephen King book. Also, Control is the same universe. Not familiar with either of those. Okay, cool. That's cool. You like the you like Spider-Man Remastered? You haven't played the Miles yet? All right. Is it worth like $20? Would you say? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, okay, there's two games that so there's Armored Core, and then there's two other games I want to play more than anything. One is, and one I can't play, and that is uh what is it called? Oh god, my brain. My brain and names are not friends. Uh hold on, it'll come to me. Uh Bloodborne? Yeah, Bloodborne. That's it. Bloodborne. One of but it's only on the PlayStation. And I don't have that version of the PlayStation. Yeah. So Bloodborne. And then I really want to play the expansion of Elden Ring. I have played Lies of P. I beat Lies of P. I'm actually on my third playthrough. I'm trying to get 100% of the what's it called? You know, of the game or whatever it is, the achievements. I'm trying to get everything. So I'm actually on my third run through on it. It's a fun game. I really like it. Yeah, that's why I want to play Bloodborne. What I have to look up what PlayStation it was on again. I might be able to. It's an old one. I don't know. Was it PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 3? I don't know why I'm asking you. I could just Google it. PS4. See, I think Michelle has an old PS3, but I don't think Bloodborne runs on PS3. So, you know, it does not. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. One day, there will be a pirated version that I can play, or a licensed version on Steam. It runs on PS5. I don't have a PS5, but thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. I don't have a PS5. You know, usually my games aren't those aren't my types of games. Usually my like and I do want to play this again. It's been a while since I played, but my go-to games are usually uh stuff that's closer to like Doom Eternal. That game's so good, by the way. All right, let's see. Oh, all right. I'm going to be ending this stream soon, by the way. Just putting it out there now. Yeah. Painting session was good today. You know, it's not finished yet, but this is going to be probably a pretty brushy, loose painting overall. I do think that the figures need a little, maybe more than a little, but they need a bit more attention right now. But part of the problem is everything's very, very wet. So getting in there with the details is a little difficult. It's doable. it's a little hard while I'm streaming sometimes because I really want to get in there, like, just so you know, like, this is what I want to do for some of this stuff, for like the very small details. I want to do like this, you know, I want to get in there and be like, okay, let's, you know, let's add the little brow ridge right there for him. But I feel like doing this on stream is not, you know, not always the best. So we'll see. Bob says, I'm excited for the Lollipop Chainsaw remaster that is coming out. What? I have not heard of this at all. I'm not familiar with this at all. Donley says, yeah, I like to shove my whole face into the paper when I'm sketching with pencil. I'm sure the same with painting. Yeah, when you really get into like the very fine details, it very much, and like I'll also use my you know, modified whatever or substitute mall stick. So I put this up here and I have my hand, you know, on it for stability, and I can really get in there and start doing all the detail work and stuff. Not that this is going to have the most detail work. This is definitely going to be a more, you know, brushy painting, looser painting. But right now, I'm not sure how clear the figures are. Like, I think you guys can see them, but, you know, I think they need to be a little more solid. Lollipop Chainsaw is a game made by Studio 51, who made Deadly Premonition with James Gunn. That was for the 360. Man, this is, yeah. I'll have to check this out. I'm unfamiliar with any of these, so I'll have to check it out. But sounds cool. All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. I will be streaming Wednesday night, same time, and Sunday day. Yeah, James Gunn made Guardians of the Galaxy. Yes, I am familiar. I didn't work with James Gunn, but I did work on the Guardians of the Galaxy, the animated show, so I am familiar. So yeah. Like I said, I didn't work with him directly or anything. I don't think he was even on the show, but, you know, still. Anyways, have a good night. All right, see you, Don Lee. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's about it. Clap, clap. Gabriel Esteban. Hey, Gabriel. Hey, okay, well, I'm gonna wait a second. It's been forever. How you doing? I hate the delay here, unfortunately, but I was just about to end. But Gabriel, welcome. It's been a long time. How have you been? If you don't know, I stream. I'm simulcasting to YouTube and Twitch from now on, and I stream Monday night, Wednesday night, my time. I'm Austin, Texas time, so Central Time, America. Monday night, Wednesday night, and Sunday day. So those are my streaming. That's my streaming schedule at the moment until further notice. I've been pretty consistent. I do prioritize YouTube over Twitch, just FYI. So, you know, go subscribe, follow, all that stuff. I can't help it. But no, I do prioritize it because the chat function isn't as good as Twitch. And YouTube also hates Don Lee for some reason. But those things aside, the video quality on YouTube is better. And so I tend to, you know, prioritize that. But yeah, it's good to see you. I was just signing off, so I'm gonna call it a night. But thanks so much for stopping by, and I hope to see you next time, or the time after that, or whatever, whenever you can. Anyways, have a good night, everybody.